The government has been blamed for a deteriorating relationship with China and told to get its act together quickly to sort it out. An opening ceremony planned for the 2019 China-New Zealand Year of Tourism has been postponed after China advised there were changes to the schedule on its side. MPs were back at Parliament today, and while the Prime Minister laid out her government's plans for the year ahead, all questions to her were about what's happening with the relationship with China. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, Chris Bramwell.
The 2019 China-New Zealand Year of Tourism was announced back in 2017 with much fanfare. The official opening was due to take place next week. However, at the last minute, China advised the event would have to be postponed. Officials from the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment are working with China to try to reschedule it. But National's trade spokesperson Todd McClay says the event has been planned for more than 2 years.
New Zealand businesses have put a lot of effort and a lot of money into making sure that it will be successful. It's a very concerning signal, I think.
The Executive Director of the New Zealand-China Council, Stephen Jacoby, says it's too early to read too much into the postponement.
If there is a move to reinstate it or reschedule it, then this may well have been a storm in a teacup. But I do think it is significant and potentially concerning that it can't go ahead on the date that it was previously announced.
Todd McClay says the Tourism Minister Kelvin Davis should be winging his way to China on the next plane to sort it out.
Tourism is very important to New Zealand, but so is trade and so is our international relationship. I think that it's very concerning that Jacinda Ardern is the first elected Prime Minister not to visit China within the first year in office since before Robert Muldoon. That in itself speaks volumes.
Jacinda Ardern says she has a standing invitation to visit China, but so far she and China's leader have been unable to find a suitable date. She says a number of senior ministers have been to China, including the Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters.
We've had 6 ministers visit China. We've had visits here. And so that some of that has not been discussed, and yet those exchanges continue, our exports continue, tourism continues.
The latest postponements come on the back of an Air New Zealand plane being turned back mid-flight from China after the airline had not registered correctly with Chinese authorities, and New Zealand spy agency blocking Spark's bid to use the Chinese company Huawei's equipment in the 5G rollout due to national security concerns. National's leader Simon Bridges is laying the blame for the tourism event being postponed squarely at the feet of Winston Peters.
I think it's really clear if you look back whether it's been his careless and intemperate remarks around the Belt and Road Initiative of Xi Jinping, whether it has been a raft of other things that he said on the defence statement and strategy, whether it's been his speech at Georgetown that the Prime Minister didn't know about. All of these things have contributed to what we've seen.
But Winston Peters flatly rejects that, saying the relationship with China is great.
Well, we've had 6 ministers over there, including myself. Our conversations have been extensive both there and around the world. We've got future plans to do things together. There's a big celebration tomorrow night in which I'm speaking. Some of the stuff that's being beat up around here is just simply not true.
Stephen Jacoby says the issue is that New Zealand is only so important to China.
I know it might come as a shock to some people, but they don't wake up every day thinking about New Zealand. And so we have to make the running on the relationship, and that's why the deferment of these visits and events is problematic for us. Not because I think China is plotting some sort of retaliation in New Zealand for the things we might have done recently in the relationship, but rather because we won't have the opportunity to develop the relationship in the way we want to.
Atu i te whare pāri mata mō te hōtaka o te ahi pōnei, ko Chris Bramwell ahau.